Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right, we are very excited to present our spring course showcase as part of the Sustainability Initiative. If you haven't, you can use this QR code to just scan and sign in for those of you pre-registered for the event. We have a great lineup of courses and faculty to share and pitch what they're going to be teaching in the spring. I'm just going to start with a couple of opening context pieces for the broader Sustainability Certificate and Initiative. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Jason Jay. I teach here at MIT Sloan, direct the Sustainability Initiative with Jen and Emma and Sophia, who are also here organizing the event. We offer a sustainability certificate to master's students, graduate students across MIT. And the courses that you're going to hear about today are all count as either required courses or electives toward the certificate. Of course, you can take them a la carte, one or two if you like. But if you pursue the certificate, these will help you on that journey. The requirements for the certificate, for those of you who are thinking about it, just to quickly review, is that it's 3 required courses and usually 2 to 3 electives. So the required courses are System Dynamics, which provides an analytic tool set that is useful in the sustainability space, Business Strategies for a Sustainable Future, which I'll talk about later, which is our intro to sustainable business, and the S-Lab, which is our action learning course focused on sustainability. And then you choose 2 electives, usually 2 to 3 electives. You have to earn 18 to 21 units from your sustainability electives to add up to the total 45 units needed to earn the certificate. The flex on the required courses is just that System Dynamics has a 6 and a 9 unit version. So depending on which of those you take, you might have to load up additional units into the electives. There's a couple of other little exceptions that we do. If you do a action learning project in another course that's sustainability focused, we'll usually allow you to petition to count that as an elective. If you do a thesis that's sustainability focused, we'll count that as an elective as well. So we try to be flexible as you try to navigate your way through this landscape. The most important thing is just register your interest. If you think you might possibly, it's not a binding commitment, but if you think you might possibly be interested in doing the certificate, this is the webpage where you can register. And then that will put you into the queue for advising with Jen Graham, who can help you figure out what your pathway through the certificate would look like.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
How many here are registered for the certificate already? Awesome. How many of you don't know if you're registered for the certificate already?
Okay, there's a couple of those.
So this QR code is going to be very helpful, especially if you don't know if you formally registered. If you think you're going to register twice, we're going to handle that on the back end. So if you're unsure, I advocate that you scan this QR code. You'll see a full view of all the certificates that are open to Sloan students. And at the very bottom, you'll see the page to register. So this is a centralized process among all those certificates. And if you have any questions now or later, just let me know.
Okay, thanks, Jen. For those of you who are MBA students, this is just kind of an example of what a trajectory can look like. Of course, you are going to do this in your own custom way, but oftentimes we'll see students take Business Strategies for a Sustainable Future in their first year spring, System Dynamics either concurrently or the following fall. They'll do S-Lab the second year spring with electives that are smattered throughout their time here. But of course, you can do them in a variety of sequences. Additional certificate pathways for other programs beyond MBA and other guidance can be found on our website, which this is another QR code for. And in particular, we have a sustainability courses page, which has an inventory, a menu of all the courses across MIT that count toward the certificate and that we think are interesting for folks interested in these topics. We've just gone through a round of edits on that webpage to curate it down to the courses that are really available right now during your tenure here. And so it will be increasingly useful as we go. So what we're going to do is double click and provide you with some more texture and information about the spring courses. That's the purpose of this event as we get close to the spring bidding process. And I should also just say a note on bidding. For those of you who are first-year MBA students, you've not been through bidding yet because you were in the core. And for those of you who are not MBA students who might be kind of cross-registering into Sloan from other parts of MIT or Harvard, the bidding process is how we sign up for courses here. If you find that you really want to take these courses, but you're not familiar with how all of that works, the MBA students, you'll get plenty of guidance, I think, from Sloan Ed Services. But if others are trying to navigate in this space, just reach out to our team and we can usually help you out. I have a little run sheet here of which faculty are going to go in which sequence. But I'm going to say that I'm going to be a pretty tough timekeeper. Okay, so some of you might be taking courses with these people, and they're holding you to 1 to 3 minute elevator pitches, and now this is our chance to hold the faculty feet to the fire in the same way. So I'm going to give each faculty member 3 minutes to just do a description and overview of what they're doing in their spring course. The first one will be Karen Zhang talking about operations strategy. And then on deck next will be Nicholas Ashford talking about environmental law, policy, and economics. Karen, I believe, is joining us remotely. So if she turns on her video, we'll get her up on the side screen here. And I've got my 3-minute timer ready. So, all right, Karen, go for it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jason. So hi, everyone. I am Karen Zhang. I'm a faculty member in the Operations Management Group at Sloan. I would have liked to be there in person, but I am actually on sabbatical in the UK, so I'm actually connecting from the UK. I'm going to introduce you to the course that I will be teaching in the spring, which is Operations Strategy. The course number is 15769. This is a course that is a natural continuation of the Introduction to Operations Management course that I hope that many of you have taken. There will be 2 sections in the spring, and the course will focus on examining how strategic decisions in all aspects of operations can be made in order to enable an organization's business strategy, and more importantly, emphasizing how good operations design can enable a source of competitive advantage for organizations. So throughout the course, we are going to highlight the importance of the triple bottom line of people, profit, and planet, and in particular, how organizations should consider financial, environmental, as well as social performance and impacts in an integrated manner to achieve real sustainability. I think that, in my view, operations is, I always call it strategy of execution. And this is really how we make things work and make things happen and get things done. So I believe that learning all these aspects and how it interacts with sustainability mindset, it's critical if we want to drive real sustainability. In the course, we are going to examine operation strategy in 3 broad areas. We start with strategic decisions within the firm, and then we talk about across firms along the supply chain, and end the course with strategic thinking related to innovation and growth. The format of the course will include active discussions with case studies, simulation games. We'll also have guest speakers coming to share with us their perspectives on many different topics. And there will also be team-based projects for students to work together. As I said, sustainability and its interplay with operations will be a common thread and theme across the different modules. And so I believe that this will be a great course for students who are thinking about how they can take some of the strategic sustainability thinking, and take that into an organization context and think about how to make things happen and changes happen. So that's all that I want to share.
Beautiful. All but 5 seconds left. You demonstrated very well for your fellow faculty members, Karen. Really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, applause, welcome. Okay, so I will invite up Nick Ashford to talk about environmental and policy, and then on deck, we'll have Chris Knittel on energy market dynamics.
Hi, everybody. We've had a change in administration and we had published a book with the same title.
If you want to use the mic, that's yours.
Environmental Law, Policy and Economics. That book is being revised. And we don't know what the new administration is going to bring, but you can bet there's some really significant changes in environmental law, policy and economics. Now, there are a lot of people who teach environmental law classes. They're usually lawyers. And there are a lot of people who teach economics and environmental. We teach environmental law, policy, and economics. So we're looking at it from the perspective of the government, deal with toxic substances, greenhouse gases, which is only part of the issues having to do with energy. And what I'm told is not only are there a large number of Sloan students who take these courses, but they are able to talk to the lawyers in the agencies if they're working in the private sector. So we deal with toxic substances. One thing that you're going to learn to do is to read and talk like a lawyer. I mean, you may have friends who are preparing briefs for law firms. You will be preparing a brief. You will be learning to talk like a lawyer, and lawyers may not even be able to tell that you're not a lawyer if you take the class, because we're going to review all of the legislation that has to do with toxic substances, greenhouse gases, the control of power plants or not, right? And most of the students who take the class, half of them are lawyers. What I didn't know what did you want us to talk about the next semester or not? Not today.
Just whatever you're going to teach in the spring course.
Okay, this is just the only course in the spring. In the fall, I teach a course called Technology, Globalization, and Sustainable Development. It's a globally oriented course and answers the question, how come we're not moving in sustainability the way we should be? Yes, the private sector is important, but again, we emphasize the role of the government. Now, anybody who might want to take the course is welcome to pick up one of these pink sheets. That's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Nick. Great to have you. Chris?
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jen, Jason. I'll mention, I think I'm okay with, this is a brand new class. It's actually.
It's for the.
Oh, it's for
Okay.
those folks, yeah.
So I'll be teaching a brand new class. It's actually not on the website because it is brand new. It's loosely based on a class I've been teaching, which is 15038. But this is a half semester version. So I'm basically going to be talking twice as fast and we'll cover the same agenda. But at a high level, what this class is about is trying to understand how each of the energy markets work. And that's a fascinating topic because they each work very differently. Even the same sector, like an electricity market, will work very differently in portions of the US versus other portions of the US or internationally. We will dive into electricity markets. We'll dive into markets for things that we take out of the ground, like oil, natural gas, critical minerals, and so on. Who should take it? In a nutshell, everyone should take it, but for different reasons, right? So some of you might be wanting to go into these energy markets to disrupt them, whether that's going into clean hydrogen to disrupt natural gas markets or going into electricity markets to disrupt coal and natural gas generation. In order to do that, you need to know how these markets work. Some of you will want to go into adjacent markets, whether that's markets for the critical minerals or markets for downstream uses of electricity, such as green steel and so on and so forth. Well, you're going to be buying from these electricity markets, so you're going to need to know how they work as well. And then finally, all of you are going to at some point be consuming energy, whether you want to increase sustainability in a pharmaceutical firm, you need to understand how electricity markets work and how RECs work and how investing in solar panels or carbon credits work. We'll start with things that we take out of the ground. So those critical minerals, those fossil fuels. We'll then pivot to electricity markets where throughout the entire half semester, you'll be playing a simulation game where you'll be buying electricity plants and using those plants in a competitive electricity market, submitting bids for electricity. And then we'll layer on top a set of policies on those electricity markets so that you can see how markets are disruptive by policy and by technological progress.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Next up is Catherine Wolfram, and then Lee Haffrey's on deck.
Hello, I'm Catherine Wolfram. I joined Sloan last summer, so I've been here like 16 months, and I'm going to be teaching a class called Climate and Energy in the Global Economy. The class is really motivated by 3 facts. First of all, energy is absolutely essential to modern day life. Like, look, we're using lights, we've got the internet, the steel in the building, the cement took a lot of energy to provide. If you weren't convinced by those facts, last week, Russia deliberately bombed Ukraine's power structure, right? They're weaponizing electricity. The second fact is that energy, at least the way we produce it now, is contributing to global warming. And, we have to change the way we're producing electricity. And as if that wasn't hard enough, the third fact is that energy will actually help us address global warming or help us adapt to global warming. So these 3 facts and the trade-offs involved in them have really motivated all of my research and my policy involvement. So it's kind of a dream to be able to come to Sloan and design a class around these things that I've thought about so actively myself. As just a couple of examples, before I came to Sloan, I served as a Deputy Assistant Secretary for Climate and Energy at the US Treasury. And there I worked on sanctions policies, so sanctioning Russia through their oil markets. And I worked a bit on the Inflation Reduction Act. Before that, I did a lot of research looking at the energy systems, mostly electricity systems in low and middle income countries, mostly in both East and West Africa. So we will draw on those as examples. We'll really focus on the globe, not just the US, but some explicit focus on low and middle income countries. And the class will be a mix of mainly lectures, but some guest speakers and some kind of active debates within the class. So one of the debates is supposed to be about, do people have a right to electricity? So we'll talk about that. I encourage you to send me an email if you have questions and come check out the class. Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine. Lee, you have actually 2 3-minute blocks. The first on USA Lab and the second on National Prep.
You arrange the minutes.
Yes, I can give you, would you prefer that? You want 6 total? Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Lee Haffrey. Unlike Catherine, I've been here forever. So actually since 1995, I teach communication, I teach ethics, I teach leadership. At 15679 USA Lab, Bridging the American Divides is launched in 2018, specifically to address the American divides and ways of overcoming them, work, community, and culture. So this is an initiative that came out of Good Companies, Good Jobs, and WOS, so Work and Organizational Studies, IWOR, Institute for Work and Employment Research. So we've got a lot of sponsors. We have from the beginning combined a look at American history, that is how we came to be the country we are today. So looking at the history, looking at the politics, looking at the economics and projects. This is an action learning course. We send teams of students into the field to work with community development, financial institutions, municipal organizations, foundations, family foundations, state offices, to address a whole range of challenges. We've worked over the past 3 years with an outfit in North Central Massachusetts on affordable quality daycare. We talked about the cliff effect and ways to solve the cliff effect. That is what happens when you earn so much money that you lose the benefits you had previously. We've helped inmates or former inmates reintegrate with society. We've looked at affordable housing, so a wide range of projects. We have 5 projects for this coming spring, one in Southwest Colorado, one in New Orleans, that is a sustainability focused project. We have an education project here in Boston with a Brookline flagship school. We're going to be working with an outfit a South End Technology Center that is focused on digital skills for people who have not had easy access to them, and an affordable housing project in Trenton, New Jersey. So my home, Trenton. So 5 projects. You will be working with students in DUS because the course is co-sponsored with the Department of Urban Studies and Planning. I have a co-faculty lead, Caesar McDowell, who helps run the course. You will spend time in the field, but you will be engaged with your project host, whatever the organization happens to be, from the get-go. So from early February through mid-May, when the semester ends. Outcomes, you give them something that they will be able to implement, recognizing that this is an educational undertaking, not simply consultancy. Where am I on time?
You're just wrapping up the first one.
Okay, so I've just wrapped up the first one. I hope to see you there. Second one, 15270, ethical practice leading through professionalism, social responsibility, and system design. This course has been with us since 2005. The argument that I make, and it's a half semester course, so 12 sessions, that if you want to make ethical leadership decisions, you need to align your personal professional values, organizational codes, and system design. So you need to be thinking at 3 levels, maybe it's concentric circles. The course combines case studies with straight up philosophy, Plato, Aristotle, Confucius, and commentary on the state of capitalism in the world and in America specifically today. Moderated discussion, 50 to 60 students. You will write a lot. This is my communication background coming out, but you write team papers on controversial issues. Consensus is the goal. It is hard to achieve, but these papers are generally really interesting, both I think to write and certainly for me to read. It's enough.
Beautiful. Thank you. Next up, we have Geeta Rao and then Harvey Michaels on deck.
Thank you, Jason.
Just grab the mic for the remote audience.
Hi, everyone. I'm Geeta Rao, and I'm on the faculty in the finance group. I think actually some of you look familiar. I teach an action learning class, which will start in IAP called Finance Lab. And I also teach climate and social impact investing in the spring. So this class is really, I would say, complementary to so much else that we discussed in the, both in the sustainability and, the other parts of the curriculum at Sloan, like USA Lab. And the reason for this is, finance is like the circulatory system of the body. It touches everything, right? So the goal with this class is, and just let me back up a little and tell you about my own background. After my PhD, I worked in banking, and then in asset management. I managed the first global ESG portfolio in this country. I'm a very active investment advisory practice. It's sort of in my DNA to be an investor. But what this course does is we will explore climate tech investing, other climate kind of investing in a very broad way, but also to give you the tools and the analytics that you need to be able to have a voice at the table when transactions are taking place, when deals are being considered, so the entire pipeline. We're not going to talk about sourcing, but due diligence, actual deal origination, and then deal completion and post-deal monitoring. You'll get exposure to all of that. We will also look at impact measurement, very practical. How do you measure impact in climate? How do you incorporate it in a deal structure? How does the term sheet work? How will you bring both of these together so that you can incorporate it? But one of the things we will focus on is equity. And that brings me to the second piece, which is social impact investing, which is the parts of investing where we try to address the unintended consequences that have arisen, which are, income inequality, profound income inequality, lack of access, whether it is to credit or to technology. And we will look at those unintended consequences, whether they're in education, healthcare, clean water, a very broad range of sectors, and how can investors try to address these social issues? How can they structure it? We look at a variety of financial instruments. We look at a variety of investors. We have a lot of speakers in class, and there is a project where you will engage with an enterprise. And it'll be in one of these sectors. So I do hope to see you. And it's great to have such a big turnout. Kudos to you, Jason. Yeah.
Kudos goes to Jen, but thank you. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Chibika.
Thank you.
Okay, Harvey Michaels, and then on deck is Janelle Knox-Hayes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Harvey Michaels, and I'm teaching a seminar in the spring called Energy Management and AI Strategies for a Sustainable Future. We brought the AI focus in last year, but I've been teaching energy management for about a decade. And before that, I had companies in the energy management field for a few decades. How many of you know what energy management is? Well, it's a term of art now. It's increasingly becoming that. It's actually a large field that's serving the consumer side and the retail side of the energy markets. As Chris was talking about, these are the companies that are providing services and technology to the building sector, utility sector, cities, to find ways to solve the problems that energy has and has been quite successful over the years. It started with energy efficiency. It increasingly applies distributed solar and batteries, distributed energy resources to the solution. And now it's increasingly providing a grid alternative. We look at our power grids continuing to become peakier because the new electrification of loads like heat pumps and EVs increasingly contribute to the peak more than they contribute to the average load. And this results in the grid being extremely expensive. Over the years, we've succeeded partly with the energy management focus in having the actual growth of energy and peak demand be much flatter than the growth of the economy as a whole. And to do that, thanks. Thanks. And that's something we certainly need to continue. We need to actually accelerate. So what we do in this class is we bring in companies in this field and try to work as a group to understand the dynamics of being a company in this marketplace. And increasingly what we can do as a leverage on that is add AI. Over the years, there's been a lot of use of building automation and machine learning and expert systems, but now we're in a position to wrap that together and make a much more dramatic impact at a much lower cost, providing values for consumers. And certainly with the climate problems that we're facing, it's nice to have solutions that have the wind at their back, providing consumer value. And that's still where we are in this space. So I hope you'll join, or at least look at it. Feel free to contact me. And what we try to do is see if together we can provide some imagination to the opportunities in the field and create some high value solutions that consumers will run towards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Janelle Knox-Hayes and team. Oh, okay, so Janelle is joining us online to talk about Indigenous environmental planning, and then on deck is Josue Velasquez.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so this is 11271 Indigenous Environmental Planning, which is a practicum course in DUSP. And the course is doing two things simultaneously. One is introducing the ideas of Indigenous histories, relationality, and practice through a series of lectures, including with renowned Indigenous scholars we bring in from the United States and from other places around the world. And then we're also pairing our students. We have a core of about 10 MCP students that will join the class. And then we pull students from across campus and from other institutions in the Boston region and form interdisciplinary teams to work with community partners on community-based projects. So we usually have one or two projects that come out of the MIT Solve Indigenous Fellowship, and we're still exploring this, maybe working with the Otoe in Missouri. And then we also pull together projects from our partnerships with other communities. So we'll be working this year with the Shinnecock Indian Nation on energy management and resource use. We have a project with the Native Land Conservancy that's planning a prescribed burn for the revitalization of an ecosystem. We're looking at projects in Aotearoa where our TA Jacqueline Paul is from, and then we're also planning a project in Hawaii again this year. students that will probably travel in IAP or in the spring to their project sites to meet with their clients. And then they'll do at the end of, after working through the project, we have a set curriculum that kind of outlines the details of what they're trying to accomplish. They'll do public presentations at the end of semester, and then the reports that come out of these projects are collated online. So you can go on DUSP's Indigenous Community Planning website and see the 16 projects that have been completed in the last 4 years for this course online. So please do reach out if you have any questions, and I hope to see all of you there. Thank you. Oh, and the
Thank you.
class, sorry, just to clarify, is Wednesdays, 9:30 to 12:30, which includes usually a lunch speaker series. And that will happen in 9255. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Janelle. Josue, and then on deck is Anjali. Grab the microphone for the remote folks.
All right.
Cool.
Supply chains are the backbone of all the organizations and global economy, particularly also related to logistics. So every time we place an order, for instance, to have a fancy blazer or fancy shoes, you create a complete bullwhip effect that relates with decisions that are related to inventory planning. Somebody's making a decision how much they're going to order to have in a particular shelf. Somebody's making a decision what is the type of vehicle or transportation system they're going to be using. Somebody's making a decision what is the supplier they are selecting. All those things are actually explaining why we have things in this moment in this very room. And many of those decisions, by the way, were designed in a way that will create economic benefits, financial performance, business goals. For the last decade, the importance of sustainability grew also along the side of supply chains. And now we know that many of those decisions definitely have a lot of impact in supply chain. And this is what the course is all about, sustainable supply chain management. Hello, everyone. My name is José Velázquez. I'm a research scientist at the MIT Center for Transportation and Logistics, and I've been teaching sustainable supply chain management for already, I believe, 9 years. I am the director of the Sustainable Supply Chain Lab, and we have designed this course as an outcome of that particular lab. We've been conducting research with organizations, trying to help them not just achieve their business goals, but how they can actually contribute to the overall goal to translate the climate pledges into actionable strategies. So for instance, every time you place an order in Amazon and you are trying to get your goods next day or the same day, there are implications for the environment. But can you actually quantify what is the environmental impact of your decisions as a consumer? Or what are the implications every time you make a mistake or an error in a forecast planning? Or what are the decisions and implications that you're going to have when you make a selection of a supplier or building just a distribution network? So if you're interested in those particular things, this is your course. So what we do in the class is combine all the case studies, web simulators, and experiences that we have collected over the past years to really translate all those learnings into an experience that we hope you really can use for your growth and help us shape the future of sustainability in the organizations. Thank you so much, and I hope that you remember the guy with the red shoes. That's the course. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, Anjali, and then Ben and Victoria, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting me. I joined the Sloan faculty decades with an S ago, and began by teaching system dynamics and then veered into bringing that kind of thinking into action learning. But I realized as I worked alongside my students with over 100 projects in the global South, that we were often sort of unthinkingly applying business models, ideas, and solutions drawn from our cases done here in the States, and often assuming that the US business models were the ones to export and emulate. I became really interested in the question of the business models that are emerging across the world that work, that maybe don't get written up in an HBS case. So my focus in this course is business models conceptualized very broadly. So by business models, I don't mean just revenue. I mean, what's the operational model? How is learning actually fueled and then leveraged inside this organization, et cetera, et cetera. So how can what business models are successful in delivering needed goods and services in low resource settings. So that's where the frontier markets comes in. So and I'm particularly interested in business models and approaches that yield needed goods and services for all segments of society, especially the lower resourced ends of society that are often underserved. We have amazing debates. Like one big one is, should the market be solving, clean water needs? Or, are we letting governments off the hook when we look at startups and other businesses that provide some of those services? And we also have a chance to really dig into what each particular business model looks like. So over the years, 18 years now, I've assembled a pretty great collection of cases. They're almost all unconventional because, again, they're not all written up. So you might get a video one week or a New York Times article and an accompanying paper. And we dig into these. We try to pull out ideas, themes, frameworks, issues that we then work on systematically through the semester in a suite of cases that the students select. So the students are doing mini cases themselves. So now we have about 200 of those. So we have systematic analyses of new and emerging enterprises. They could be nonprofit or for-profit, but they have to be revenue positive for them to be interesting. And we cover many sectors from healthcare delivery to education, energy, et cetera. So I'm happy, as you can tell, always to talk more. So just connect with me. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Anjali. Ben and Victoria, and then on deck is myself.
All right. Hello, everyone. I want to start with a couple questions for you all. Who here came to Sloan or to MIT more broadly, if you're not to Sloan, to focus on achieving impact in climate and sustainability? Given the room we're in, I would expect to see most hands up like we're seeing. Who here came to Sloan or MIT to do entrepreneurship in some way? See fewer hands. Now, a lot of the courses in the entrepreneurship ecosystem here at MIT focus on people who come here to do entrepreneurship. They are gung-ho about doing entrepreneurship and pursuing that pathway. The course we're here to tell you about is not one of those courses. This is a course that is focused on exploration, exploring where are there unsolved problems, where are there unmet opportunities all around this cutting edge topic of climate tech that is constantly evolving. So we'll focus on different themes each week, giving an overview, as well as speakers with entrepreneurial experience or promising research or real practical lived experience with problems in these themes. Themes like carbon removal, nature-based solutions, electricity generation, energy storage, and we'll also talk about roles. How do you plug in as an individual, whether it's a startup founder, a startup joiner, an ecosystem builder, or even policy and government? I myself come to this field of climate tech as a climate and sustainability first, an entrepreneurship person second, like I think many of you in this room who may be interested in entrepreneurship. Currently, I am in an entrepreneurship center. I am the climate guy at the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship. So I advise a lot of students who are building climate tech solutions. I've advised students inside and outside of universities for a long time, but my climate career spans climate research, climate policy, as well as climate startups, and we're going to cover a lot of those different things in this course. And I'm very excited to be teaching this course with a co-instructor who has some similar background and expertise, Victoria Passini.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. Victoria Passini. And I think a little bit about my journey. I was sitting in your seats not too long ago, and I came to Sloan thinking I knew that I wanted my future to be in climate and social impact. I just didn't know what that meant. I was a little bit intimidated by it. And when you talk about the type of work you would do, I'm like, what does that actually mean? And so when Ben and I got together to think about this course, we really wanted it to be a practical study for you all and saying not only what industry or vertical do you want to focus in and what does that mean, but then what is the work that you're going to do? What are the skills that you need to be successful? So a little bit about the outcomes you can expect from this class. We are hoping that you'll come out with your personal thesis around climate. So what areas do you want to focus on, why, and the types of roles that you would play within the future climate venture or corporate or whatever other institutional setting you'd like to be in. And then also thinking a little bit about as we said around the roles, we want to give you really hands-on practical experience about doing that work. So we'll do some techno-economic analysis, we'll do some heat map studies, we'll do some, are we coming up on time? Cool. And then finally, as Ben said, 2 times a week, we need your help to pick the time and date, so we'll come up to you afterwards. But we'll be bringing in a lot of people that you can ask your questions to them, and a lot of experts in the field, so we'll make it really practical. Cool.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, I will hold myself to my same, now we have a governance problem because I'm going to be holding myself accountable. Okay, so Business Strategies for a Sustainable Future is our flagship course in sustainability. It is designed to give you a big picture understanding of the grand sustainability challenges of our time from a systems perspective. So we really unpack, what does it mean for humans to be colliding with planetary boundaries? What does it mean for us to have created a global value chain and global economy with inequality at its founding and its base? And then what are the practical strategies that companies can undertake to tackle those issues? So it's really a corporate sustainability strategy class. And it goes through essentially the process that you would have to go through if you were leading sustainability for a big company, or if you were taking over as CEO, which means baselining and understanding where you are, the measurement challenge, the goal setting challenge, materiality and strategic focus, and then the operational strategies needed to decarbonize, to improve working standards, and then ultimately the leadership capabilities that you need as a person to be able to mobilize those changes inside your enterprise, across the value chain, and in the wider ecosystem. It is taught through John Sturman and myself doing interactive lectures, case studies, simulations. We bring in stars from across the MIT ecosystem like Bethany Patton and Roberta Rigobon and Florian Berg and others, so that you get some exposure to the broad context, but there's a really nice through line. There are analytic assignments where you really get to build some concrete skills and tools around materiality analysis, transition risk analysis, and life cycle analysis. So we use this as a jumping off point to the rest of the sustainability curriculum, and we hope to have you. We'll be offering this course in 2 sections, 10 to 11:30 and 4 to 5:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can choose either. The second section will have executive MBA students bringing their professional experience into the room in a hybrid model. That is our flagship course, and I hope to see all of you there, particularly those of you pursuing the sustainability certificate, since it is one of the required courses. And with that, I will turn it over to our final speaker, which is the other required course for the sustainability certificate, SLAB.
Hello, I've not been referred to as a star before, so thank you. I'm Bethany. I'm the Executive Director for the Climate Policy Center, and I also teach 15915. So the previous history of 915 was that it was part of BSSF. It's the action learning component. We realized that we were sort of creating cognitive dissonance with people where we were teaching them theory and then saying, oh, go work on a project, and students were getting really overwhelmed. So we split them apart, and this is now the action component where you get to apply what you've learned in BSSF to an actual project. So it's been running for what, like 15 years or something. So it's a very long class and is a requirement for the certificate. It's meant to, like I said, apply what you've learned in BSSF to a practical world problem. And we design it in such a way that you either, if you're a 2-year student, you're going to take it in your first year, and then you're going to take BSSF in your first year, and then you're going to take the action learning class in your second. But if you are a Sloan Fellow or somebody who's in a 1-year program, we design it in such a way that if you're taking BSSF at the same time, you're not going to feel like you haven't learned something and have to apply it in our class. So we work very closely with Jason and John and team to make sure that we are in concert with what's happening in BSSF. Okay, so in terms of the objectives of the course, there's 2. One is a personal pet project of mine, which is just teaching people how to project manage. So we spend a lot of time working on problem formulation, structured work design, concepts that you could apply to anything, even if it wasn't a sustainability project. And anyone who has been a consultant and thinks they know how to do this is usually feeling pretty humbled by the end. So I'll just put that out there. And then the other thing is to actually move a sustainability project through an organization in a short amount of time. So instead of thinking about these big, long 2-year kinds of projects, we teach you how to scope it down in such a way that you get lots of wins, which adds momentum and creates an opportunity for people to feel good about what they're doing. Past projects, or kind of what we focus on, 2 things. One, we select projects based on where students are going. So I work really closely with Jen on what their careers are in the future and how we can think about applying and creating, skills development. So every year the projects are changing based on what you all are thinking about doing as you go into the workforce. And I think that's really important. But we also focus on, sort of general topics around energy management, waste management, good hiring practices, DEIJ, and companies can be anything from Takeda to we've worked with Patagonia in the past. We've spent Staples, World Wildlife Fund, Fidelity. So really runs a large spectrum. Structure, 1 time a week, 2 hours. Part of that is some kind of skills development, some kind of like community development, and then mentorship. And it's not travel, but if it is a project that's here in the local area, you can go. We don't care. Go wherever you want to go. And if they'll pay for you to go someplace, that's great too. All right, that's it.
Thank you. And we should say that that piece about the travel component is very important. We've designed SLab because it's required for the certificate to be compatible with other action learning courses that might take you away for the SIP and spring break in the spring. Okay, I'm going to open the floor for questions, which could be for the initiative and certificate team or for any of the faculty specifically about courses. I think we have about 10, 12 minutes for questions. Super, because our faculty were very gracious in staying within the time limits. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you able to, so I'm a first year, would I be able to take 1 or more electives prior to taking either of the 2 required courses or the required course?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. None of the courses that you heard about today from the other faculty have a prerequisite of BSSF or SLab. They all work independently. Now, some of them might have other departmental prerequisites. For example, Geeta Rao's social impact investing course, you have to have taken 15401. So you need an intro finance class to be able to take that class. It's recommended to take intro operations before taking Karen Zheng's operation strategy class. But there's no strong prerequisite relationships in the sustainability curriculum other than taking BSSF before or at the same time as SLab. Yeah. Did you have a similar question? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So mostly first years, I assume. Are there any classes that are mostly second years? I know like SLab we heard is mostly second years. Is there anyone that we should be aware of that we should maybe not do now but plan to do next year?
I'll put that actually out to the faculty. Like, are there any of your courses where you think you're better off with second years than first years in the classroom? No, I think it's pretty fluid.
I'll also add that the pathways document that's on our website. So what we do is I've gathered data from the past 3 to 5 years of certificate graduates, so when they took said electives, and so you can kind of map it out based on historical data.
Yeah.
We have a question online.
Yeah.
Are all these offerings available to EMBA students?
So for executive MBA students, if you are going to be joining remotely in the hybrid mode, the only one of these courses that is available to you is 15915 in the section B afternoon. With that one, we have all the architecture to make it a hybrid course. For all of the other courses, you would have to be someone who lives in Boston, can come physically to campus for every one of the sessions.
And they can work with the program office.
Yeah, and you can work with the EMBA program office on that. Yeah. Other questions? Maybe for a particular faculty, or you can corner them. Yeah, go ahead.
Chris's class, what's the difference between the long version and the short version?
We're going to spend a little bit less time on fossil fuels and more time on fossil fuels, more time on low carbon alternatives and low carbon technologies.
There are questions? Okay, yes.
A question that I get very frequently from first-year students is, how can I guarantee a spot if I'm pursuing the certificate? Do I have a guaranteed seat in 15915 or 15878? And my answer is we cannot bypass the Sloan bidding process. But if you do not initially get into the course, get on the wait list and email me. So let's become friends, let's become familiar, and I can help you.
Yeah. And I'll say that one of the reasons that we went to 2 sections for 15915 is to build enough capacity in the course to give some flexibility around that question. Yeah. Okay, I'll leave you to corner any other faculty on a one-on-one basis, but really appreciate Jen and Emma and Sophia for organizing the event. Thank you. And to our faculty for sharing their courses.